Voices come to me in the darkness and prey on my weary heart. Eyoch naketnai. All I wanted was rest, but all I'd get were those words. I'd been blindfolded for weeks and starved. Things had gotten to the point where I would have welcomed death, and yet the voices still wouldn't leave me be. Why are you so eager to die? Evil knows when I'm alone. When I am, the demon rests above my ear. There it speaks secrets, churns riddles, and it trickles hot breath down my neck. Everyone I tell thinks I'm crazy, and I can't blame them. I'm forced to keep my head down and to bear with what haunts me every single night. You know what will happen. Why hide? This thing? This voice? It was fate itself, I think. You wouldn't be wrong to call fate the god of my people. There runs a belief in their doctrine that fate could never be defied, so here's where I'd prove what I really was, a true fool. I'd hold out hope for a miracle. I'd try to defy fate, or gladly die trying. A void of shadow stood around me. My abductors had been leading me for a while, and at long last, their footsteps ceased. I had no more strength. When someone nudged me from behind, I went crashing down and was lucky not to crack my head open. On the ground, a silk-like hand graced me. It worked its way down my face and yanked away my blindfold. So ensued the first time I saw a certain young woman with pale blonde hair. Her skin glistened, and her dress was just as regal. I laid on my belly and looked to her for answers. She didn't look back. Instead, her eyes flew beyond me. "You fools!" she cried. "What were you thinking?" Our expedition held some complications, said a scruffy voice. "Loshki, don't you dare try to pass this off!" "My lady, this..." "Silence!" she cried again, flailing her arms. "Get out of my sight before I hand you back to those sadists as retribution." Quiet ensued. My gaze stayed on the woman. She seemed intent on putting Loshki to death with her eyes. He must have backed down, because I heard footsteps leak away from behind. Slowly, oh so slowly, I heard the creak of a door, and then it closed. The woman descended alongside me. She went straight to the binds behind my back. At last, my hands swung free. She pulled me up, off my stomach, and to my feet. My arms... I could barely feel them. I took a good look and saw gruesome purple stains. It's no simple thing to forgive such senseless acts, she said, her eyes fixated on the marks. Regret trickled off her tongue, but real or fake? I couldn't tell. Consequently, the only thing I felt comfortable doing here was playing dumb. "Still, I'm thankful for your kindness," I squeaked like a toddler. I'm very, very thankful. Of course. She took me by the hand, then looked to my eyes. Her eyes were soft and kind, but I could tell there was something hidden within them. You must be hungry, she said. Shall we see to that, my dear? That would be wonderful. Thank you. I used to think I was thin before, but that was nothing compared to the skeleton I was now. I was desperate for anything she'd give me. She led me by the hand and through the room. It was laden with silks, fine tapestries, and all sorts of regal frills. She sat me at a table, and then she started to give requests to a servant for all sorts of foods I'd never heard of. I snuck glances in the meantime. Something about the paintings strewn about was really tipping me off. I could swear I'd seen them before, but... In the midst of my confusion, a servant laid down a tray of sizzling hot food. 2 more followed right behind, and they each did the same. Saliva started to beam from my mouth. My eyes went wide. Eat, young one. My stomach roared. I was too shocked to eat, despite how much I wanted to. She brushed away at my long, pitch-black bangs and gave me a little smile. Is food uncommon where you come from? She said. Please, my dear, eat. Was this some sort of test? If so, then I was eager to fail in glorious fashion. I clawed at the table and flooded my mouth with its bounty. Nobody seemed surprised when I started to choke, especially the woman, who had a goblet of water at my lips in mere moments. A good minute of gagging ensued before I could breathe again. It only makes sense you wouldn't have the sort of food you deserve where you hail from. So she said. My eyes stayed on hers. I wanted to try one more time to see if she'd tip her hand. You're right, I said. I really didn't, but I wish I had. Food from there isn't nearly as nice as what you have, Miss... Miyune? But you can call me Miyu. My eyes couldn't decipher anything. Only my ears were getting me anywhere. It's a name I used to go by, she said. Once upon a time. Something was amiss with those words. But what? Usually, I was good at this type of thing. So it surprised me when I couldn't get a read on her. My lips stammered around, trying to recreate the way she'd said her name. Miyune, she said. Or you could think of it this way. Miyune. Neigh like a horse? Did they have horses here? I wondered, because we had no animals in my homeworld. Miyune. I said slowly. Well then, Auntie Miyune, I want to thank you for dinner. It's spectacular. Of course, my dear. She looked so calm, so comfortable, so in control. I'll serve you well, Auntie Miyu, I said, knowing well they hadn't taken me to make me a slave, or anything so simple. Serve me? She laughed, as if. If anything, you could serve me by being the sister I ever wished to have. What in God's name was really going on here? She wasn't fooling me for a second. Even though her deliveries were pretty convincing. "What is your name, my dear?" she asked, breaking me out of thought. This must have been her way of playing dumb because there was no way she didn't know precisely who I was. My act of innocence broke, albeit just for a second. And this marked the first time I messed up in front of her. "I'm not eager to keep my name," I admitted. Kehach is my name." I wondered if my name sounded weird to someone of her tongue. "Kehach," she said, raising a finger. "Then from this day henceforth, may I know you as my dear Kea Listel?" Again, I pushed the words out slowly. Kea. Names in this language were difficult for me, and what Listel meant, I could only imagine. Still, anything was better than retaining my surname. I hated my bloodline. All the scars that painted me from head to toe stood testament to the sort of character my family had. "I really do like the sound of that," I said. "Thank you." "And how old are you, young one?" As if she didn't already know. 14, I told her. "Ah, a fine age." "That is still more than young enough to experience the world in a way the aged cannot understand. That in itself is quite the blessing." I nodded, smiled, and went along with her little game. "Yes, very true." "Such energy," she sighed. A grin embroidered onto her face. "That'll suit you well with us." Yes, I could only hope so. Because whether I liked it or not, I was stuck with her for the foreseeable future. Could I run? Of course. I was adept, swift enough. I could probably escape. Except in a place I did not know, there wouldn't be much of a point. Where could I run to? So yes, I was all but bound to whatever fate she had in store for me. And yet the last thing on my mind was giving up.